Ron Blank is a well-known product specification expert in the construction realm, whose illustrious career spans an impressive half-century, shaping the very landscape of the AEC industry. As a pioneering thought leader, Ron has not only witnessed, but actively participated in the evolution of construction practices, revolutionizing outreach to specifiers, AIA education programs, and sustainability initiatives along the way. Ron's profound wisdom and unparalleled insights serve as guiding beacons for both seasoned professionals and burgeoning talents alike. With a wealth of experience garnered over 5 decades, Ron stands as a testament to innovation, foresight, and unwavering dedication. Here is Ron's story and the powerful specification secrets he wants to share with you.
I started my company in 1985 to help building product manufacturers get their products specified by calling on design professionals. I created the Architectural Specification Program. That has helped hundreds of product manufacturers become very successful with architects. Before I launched my company in 1985, I worked for the Burke Company, a very large manufacturer in the concrete accessories business. I worked for them for over 10 years. When I started out in the construction industry, I had an appetite to learn everything, from how to read plans, figure out complex projects, how to put them together. I was young, I wanted to succeed. I started out in sales, then became a sales manager, an account manager, a national account manager, a national sales manager. I worked my way up to the top. In the process, I work with design professionals on hotels, commercial buildings, office buildings, airports, convention centers, schools, all kinds of other projects. I always ask myself, what's that quantum leap to get to the next level? How do I increase sales? I had a wife and young family at the time. I was traveling all the time. I wanted to be a success. It was a difficult period for me. How do you balance a family life and work and still get your product specified by architects out on the road? When I worked for Burke in the concrete accessories business, all we did is call on contractors. I would go out to the job site. I would sell every kind of concrete accessory, chemical, and forming system directly to the contractors in the job shacks. They were the low-hanging fruit. You see the contractor, you make your presentation, get a sale, and then your people deliver it. Very simple. My team used that strategy for years. We rarely called on architects. The only time we did is when we needed to make a substitution or an equal and get submitted by a contractor to be on that project. Eventually, we found out our competition was killing us. They had architectural reps, and we started losing some of the biggest jobs that I ever saw. We never hit our sales goals. We had to change that. Things were not working out. I wanted to get those big jobs too. But one day I had an epiphany. All those guys that I'm seeing in the project manuals, my competitors, they're all in the specs. How come we're not in the specs? I wanted to find out the reason, so I hired my previous boss, Don Linsky. I made him travel 7 states to solve our problems. I told him, there's 3 products I need you to take on the road and build up our sales. I need you to visit with the architects. So every other week, Don would call on 25 architects. He would set up the appointments. This was a game changer for my company. We started noticing we were in more project manuals. After 2 years, we were all over the specs. So in the late 1970s and early 1980s, this was really a revolutionary approach. Very few manufacturers did this. I told all my reps at Burke to start calling on architects. Instead of visiting only contractors, my reps had to meet with the architects, engineers, influencers, and the decision makers. We still use that same approach to this day. The Architectural Specifications program I developed at the Burke Company is simple, it's very effective. It builds name recognition for your brand, it helps you get your product specified, and it also educates the design professional about your products. At the end of the day, you need your products in the Office Master Specifications. It's all about implementation. It's simple, but you need to implement the program consistently. Then your specification opportunities increase. Architects do not fill out purchase orders. I knew a guy who was an architectural rep for a large international company. The guy was fired because the manager for the manufacturer called him into a meeting and said he wasn't getting any purchase orders from the architects. The company had just set up a factory in the United States, and they did not understand the U.S. specification process. Believe me, architects don't fill out purchase orders. One of my favorite spec writers of all time, Tim Kirby, told me that he only specified products from his friends. You need to be a friend with the architects, the spec writers, and you need to be their go-to guy. When I worked for Burke, I had 120 reps, 38 branches in the US and Canada. Everything was going great. I was taking the bull by the horns. However, after a few years, I hit a wall. I would lay in bed at night wondering, how do I share these powerful specification strategies with every one of my offices in the country? The methods were devised. They were too good to not share. Burke needed to set up a program to educate every product rep about these methods. But management didn't go for it. The company was run by CPAs and lawyers. They are always risk adverse. They did not want to change the status quo, and they did not understand our business. Management refused to invest in education to train the sales force or implement the specification methods. My Texas team, we were really successful, yet the other part of the country wasn't doing well, and management wouldn't budge. I became very frustrated and very disappointed. So I decided to share my specification strategies with other manufacturers. I started my own company. I would decide my own future. It was a huge risk, and I think it was worth it. I went home. I asked my wife what she thought. We've always been a team. It's important to get her blessing. Believe me, I was making great money. I had excellent benefits. I had a company car. I had profit sharing. My wife really appreciated my job stability. She liked my work schedule. I was only traveling probably 2 to 3 days a week, but that was going to change drastically over the next few years. My wife and I didn't have a lot of money saved. What would happen if I quit this job? My parents were not entrepreneurs. My father was a psychologist for the Army. My mother worked for the Boy Scouts of America. They were not the type of people to quit their jobs and start a new company, believe me. They didn't believe in taking any kind of great risk. I asked myself, what if my new business failed? What would my wife and family think about me if this company went belly up? These were all concerns that I had. So before I left Burke, I tried to create this bulletproof plan. I decided to take on a partner. I needed somebody to shoulder the risk with me and defray the cost. So I had a really good friend in Houston. He was a product rep for a glass company. I pitched Johnny my plan over lunch. I told him that we were going to visit 1,100 AEC firms annually. We were going to get various building products specified in every division. So if you tell one of your product reps today that they're going to have to visit 1,100 architects annually, believe me, they're going to fall out of their chairs or quit. Most reps can't even visit 500 architectural firms these days in a year. So when I started my company, I traveled coast to coast for 12 years. I was making 25 calls a week. I was traveling 40 weeks annually. You can add it up. I made about 12,000 architectural calls in my first 12 years. My busiest year was 1995. I'll never forget it. I was away from my family for 45 weeks that year. I was making architectural calls. I loved my job. I hated being away from my family. My friend, he joined me to launch the company. He didn't last very long. He didn't want to travel. That didn't work. So he returned to his job as an independent product rep. I was on my own for the next few years. I really wasn't alone if you think about it. I had my wife and my mother behind me. If I wouldn't have had them, I would have had nothing. So my mother, she had retired from the Boy Scouts. She wanted to help my business succeed, so she quit. She's my front office manager. We rented this real small office in northern San Antonio. I really didn't have anything. I'm sure you guys have been in that same situation a few times. You have to work really hard when you start with nothing. But I was armed, I'm going to laugh to myself now, with a compact Desk Pro computer with 10 megabytes hard drive and 64K of RAM. And with that, I launched an empire. My mother ran the command center, the front desk. She had something called a fax machine. We had a printer, and I think we drank lethal doses of black coffee every single morning. This was the golden age of brick phones, Thomas guides, pagers, and the ugliest office chairs you've ever seen. So back in the 1980s, we used to travel with carry-on cases with wheels. Each case, it was stuffed with manufacturers' brochures, samples, business cards, and catalogs. I would update an architect's 3-ring binders on every call I made. I would drag, for instance, the carry case through the rain in New York or Atlanta, up flights of stairs, lots of elevators, escalators, and through the subway. It was no easy task. It was really tough. I was always worn out, but that's what it took to get the job done. So I didn't really confine myself to a single CSI division or product type. I repped everything pretty much from glass to bricks. I made separate presentations for every product. Really, that was the best way to get into an architect's office. And another secret was we could always ask to update the catalog, which you don't do anymore. The architects really wanted a variety. They wanted to review several products at a time. We were really well known in the industry. My business was really different from what I call a traditional rep agency. I didn't take any commissions. I worked on a retainer basis. This really helped me generate a steady cash flow, pay for travel expenses. In retrospect, maybe I should have taken commissions. Some of the jobs I worked on were monumental, and the commissions would have been really substantial. It took several years before I could hire more staff. I started expanding into other services, other locations. I opened up some offices in Atlanta, Kansas City, St. Louis. My team started they were helping a lot of product manufacturers. They were developing lunch and learn presentations for AEC firms. I call it the Stone Age. We were in the Stone Age before the internet. There was no smartphones. There's no websites. There's no laptops. Every week, my team would travel to a different city. We'd visit at least 25 AEC firms. We'd generate project leads for our clients, getting the specs. We became very successful. And really, a lot of the larger manufacturers started signing up for a lot of our services. My philosophy has always been simple. The most important thing, I can't emphasize enough, maintain an honest and an ethical practice. Focus on the architect and spec writer. And manage like you are investing in the company. You know, great companies always allocate time, people, and money. The most important of all those, believe me, is the people. So if you're investing money in the stock market, just like your company, are you going to really look for the successful company with high potential or the low-performing company? Pretty easy, isn't it? You invest your company resources where it gets the highest ROI. So don't let losing situations, we've all been in them, or bad strategies, including those from your boss. He'll hate me for saying that. But don't let them drain your resources. You want to invest your time with winners. The best product reps are the best buy for any company. Money's not important there. I know that sounds stupid, but I'm telling you, there's no price you can put on a good product rep. So invest your resources into programs that get your product spec. Then your investment's going to pay off through your reps. Also, I want to make a comment that I think every product rep should join their local CSI chapter. It's, the Construction Specification Institute started in 1948. It offers a lot of benefits for building product manufacturers and their reps. I was president of the San Antonio chapter. I ended up taking the CDT exam. I got my credential. It really helps to have the CDT on your business card to get through the door. So in CSI, I really network with a lot of design professionals, architects, decision makers, influencer, interior designers, engineers, and most of all, I made a lot of really long-lasting friends I still have today. So if you look at education and professional credentials, they're really a big part of your company culture, should be. I know they're a big part of mine, and that's what you have to work toward. So starting with a new company, I had to hire new employees. I had a list of clients that really depended on me to get their product specified. And many days, just like you, I felt like I was climbing Mount Everest. I know I couldn't have done it without support. I'm going to tell you that without my wife's support, because I was gone all the time and she was raising the kids, my mother's support in the office, really, I couldn't have done it. Looking back, I can tell you I couldn't have done it. So eventually, I started several new companies, Green CE, CE Academy, InfoSpec, Spec Shaman. I started these other companies really dedicated to other aspects of product specs. Education, it's always been a central part of my company. In 2000, we launched the very first AI online course in the industry. Before then, architects they did lunch and learns with my reps, your reps. They went to trade shows. There's a lot of industry events where the architects get their mandatory AI education hours. Looking back, I look back to 2000. Google had just started up. Think about that. They were barely up and running. Yahoo, if you ever heard that name, they were the #1 web portal. YouTube never existed back then. There's no iPad, no iPhone, no iPods. There's no GPS, which is a big thing when you travel. Yeah, there was no GPS. We had to use paper maps. So really, there was a lot of technological changes coming. They emerged in the 1990s and 2000. And I realized that online education was a way to go. We would revolutionize the construction design industry. Computers were getting more powerful. The internet was firing up. Multimedia was on its way. So we were able to engage a lot of architects with their educational courses online. We launched that first course in 2000. It's one of the hardest things I ever did, spent all that money. We were the first ones to convert PowerPoint to HTML, which, believe it or not, was very difficult at the time. If I'd have patented it, I'd be living on Maui drinking martinis right now. But we did launch the first course in 2000. It went from there. We led the shift from these expensive face-to-face lunch and learn events, and they're expensive because you're doing them. We made the online courses free, very inexpensive. Same thing with webinars and now podcasts. We reshaped really the entire industry of education. So what I found out is when I innovated in the industry, others followed. Other companies, they've copied our websites verbatim. They consistently clone my educational courses. They duplicate every one of my delivery systems within 6 months that I develop it. They reproduce my webinar programs. They mimic every marketing idea I come up with. They copy our email programs that go out. They look at every specification strategy they can find on my website. and they try to poach my employees. And that's just the beginning. Well, really, they say imitation is the highest form of flattery. Believe me, I'm getting a lot of flattery. So while the other companies steal from me, I innovate. So my company, we offer unique and competitive services. We set ourselves apart from every other company. Every year we launch new services. Every year we adapt to changes in the industry and watch it very carefully. And every year we find a new way to successfully meet with our clients and serve them well. So I've launched multiple successful companies. I've helped hundreds, maybe thousands of product manufacturers get their products specified. And to this day, I'm probably the most passionate person in the industry about what I do. I like to leverage cutting-edge technology, but still, I'm old school. I use the same tried and true principles to get products specified I did 40 years ago. I try to get in the office master spec every single call. In 2002, my team attended the first ever USGBC. It was called the Greenbuild. It was an international expo and conference in Austin, Texas. I knew as soon as I walked in there with those hundreds of people, with these little 4x6 fold-up tables, showing everything they could talk about sustainability for their product, I was on the cusp of really something significant. From that day forward, there was a fundamental shift in how we approach the design and construction for sustainable projects. 4 years later, in 2006, I launched the company Green CE. It's greence.com. It's our sustainable design company in Washington State. That company is dedicated to help building product manufacturers get their products specified for LEED, WELL, and the Living Building Challenge. This has been a real significant experience for us, and it's probably been one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever done moving into the sustainable industry. Innovation, it's a powerful driver for my company's success. It's allowed me to stay competitive, grow, really a big word, adapt. We have to adapt every day to the market conditions. Another thing is, I can't emphasize this enough. My company, your company, you can't succeed without the most talented team in your business. I have people on my team that contribute ideas that constantly, they lead to new products, services, processes in the company. If I didn't have their creativity fueling innovation, we wouldn't be moving forward. My people, they don't work for me, they work with me. They're my family. They're the heartbeat of my business. Every day, they drive its success. They're committed. Probably a better word is dedicated. So, reflecting on the future building product specs and the next generation of innovators, I really am convinced that our success, it hinges on more than just the technological advances and developing new market strategies. It's all about cultivating a culture where our talent and our companies, they thrive and innovation flourishes. That's where your future is too.